seen on TED Talks and has a new book out about vulnerability. She's a scientist who has, and a social scientist who is really studying what is it that keeps us separate and keeps us unhappy. And she says what keeps us unhappy from other people is trying to pretend to not be vulnerable, trying to make sure that they don't find out about the devil ears and the way we are inside. And it's a wonderful, her talk is wonderful on TED, if you Google that, or if you get her book, it's really great. And there's other people who've written on it. Greg Bear, who writes a series called Real Love, which is all about unconditional love and how we can actually be ourselves with other people. And when I can tell you the truth about myself and you like me anyway, and you stayed in the room anyway, and you love me anyway, that's the only time I actually can really feel loved, right? Because if I am judging you and I have all my equipment on, and I am judging myself, and I'm not telling you the truth about myself because I'm sure that you're not going to love me if you know the truth about myself. If you know that I'm the sort of person who wakes up at 7 a.m., which means to get up at 6, or the sort of person whose knee socks fall down, or the sort of person who then becomes a crazy brat as a result of all those things, then you won't want to be around me. So I'm sure you're not going to love me, and so you can't. Because even if you do seem to like me, if I'm not telling you the truth about myself, I'm not going to believe it. Oh, you like the Sarah that you see who happens to have a nice outfit on and is pretending to be a normal person today. You like that person, but you don't really like the real Sarah. So I would like you to practice truth-telling right now. I'd like you to find someone who you're not related to and just tell something, a mistake you made, a very innocent, like not big, heavy, deep, real type of thing, but some mistake, some little mistake you made recently, like you left your car keys somewhere, or you forgot to pay a bill, or you woke up late. Right now, find someone and tell them some mistake you made recently, and then have them tell you something. Super quick. Fantastic. And nobody ran screaming from the room. That's a miracle. So how amazing is that you could actually tell a mistake to somebody that you made and they didn't run screaming from the room. Now, I don't recommend that you go around and say, I'm a truth teller now, and just tell everyone every messy thing. Be careful about who you talk to. There's a reason why there's a sacrament of confession in the Catholic Church, right? If you go to a trusted person if you need to tell something big, go to a really trusted person. If you, for little things though, practice telling the truth. And this is the kind of thing I mean. If I get to the office late, I come into a meeting and I'm late to that meeting, the way I used to always do it is, oh God, I'm sorry I'm late, you know, I ran into traffic, or, you know, I had this weird thing happen with my car, and, you know, I'm just so sorry. And how about either, I'm sorry I'm late, end of sentence. Or, if I need to tell something, I'm sorry I'm late, I valued my time more highly than yours, and I was selfish. Sorry, we'll have to go. How about telling actual truth about what happened? Now, for each person, that might be different, and that might be hard for you, but you'd be surprised how far that can go. So this is why we practice forgiveness. Forgiveness is another way to cultivate imperfectionism and to be okay with being the messy, imperfect beings that we are. And I recently learned, and many of you may have already known about this, but I only recently learned about a Hawaiian form of forgiveness mantra. And the forgiveness practice is called Ho'oponopono. Raise your hand if you've heard of Ho'oponopono before. Good? So a version of it that I was taught is something that we can just do right now in our heads. I want you to first bring to mind a person that you're angry at. And that person can be yourself or it can be another person. You can choose. And then I just want you to think over and over, I love you, I forgive you, I'm sorry, thank you. I love you, I forgive you, I'm sorry, thank you. You don't need to say it aloud. If you want to, you can. I love you, I forgive you, I'm sorry, thank you. I love you, I forgive you, I'm sorry, thank you. And this can be done on the spot. It can be done when I have a painful thought about a person that is working my last nerve, and everybody remembers, right, that forgiveness isn't for them, it's for me. You know, I'm sure, I don't know who it was who said it, but I love, you know, holding a grudge against someone else and expecting that to hurt them is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. When I forgive somebody, myself or others, it allows me to take down those walls. It allows me to be, you know. And this is a practice you can do lickety-split. I love you, I forgive you, I'm sorry, thank you. I love you, I forgive you, I'm sorry, thank you. I love you, I forgive you, I'm sorry, thank you. And it clears out energy. It's not something where you have to do a big meditation or, you know, sob for hours. I love you, I forgive you, I'm sorry, thank you. It's surgical. The other practice I'd like you to cultivate is seeing yourself through divine eyes. And I think nature is probably the best way that I've found for doing that. And I want to tell about a realization I had. I was in Yosemite and I was looking at this wonderful creek that I'm familiar with there. And I was just sitting by the creek and I was looking at how in a creek the water just goes, you know, wherever it's going to go. And sometimes it hits a bank of rocks or a bunch of stuff that got stuck in the creek, and it just builds up in that spot. It just, right, it's gone to that spot, and it just builds up, and then eventually it goes over that spot. And if a stick gets caught or a pine cone, that stays there for a while, and then it bounces off here, and then it goes over there, and rocks are every which way, and twigs are every which way. And shortly after one time when I was, shortly before one time when I was staring at the creek, I had been looking at a man-made fountain in someone's backyard. And there was like something disconnected in the fountain. And the water was squirting way off like this, just, you know, like it's supposed to be, and it was, and I realized while I was looking at that creek that I would never, ever, ever look at a creek and think unless it had garbage in it, and let's just pretend it doesn't, because this one doesn't. I wouldn't ever think that it was less than perfect. That anything that was there that nature had created, it's perfect. It's perfect. But when I look at that fountain, and I think it's supposed to be this way, but it's this way, my mind starts thinking this is a broken fountain. This is not supposed to be this way. Well, how can my work, your work, the invitation here, is how can I look at myself like I look at that creek? How can I see myself like the perfect creek? That every single thing about me, the fact that I can't get up at 7, the fact is 6 when I want to, the fact that my knee socks don't stay up, the fact that you had to tell me 3 times to do the same thing. All of those things are perfect because they're the way I am, just the way that creek is. That creek, there's nothing broken about it. There's nothing wrong with it. And that's how God sees me. And that's how God sees each and every person in this room, as perfection, as that divine perfection. And the more time I spend in nature and the more time I look at the creation, I can have that window on looking at myself that way. And And that brings me to the final practice that I want to recommend, which is gratitude. Now, everybody always talks about gratitude, but this is a particular exercise, and it's called What's Perfect About This Situation? Looking at any situation that seems to have gone awry and figuring out something, what is perfect about this? There must be something perfect. Yesterday, yes, I was driving home from Santa Rosa, and I hadn't paid any attention to my gas gauge, and I was on this long stretch. I don't know if you know the route, but I was on this. I was on 116, about to get on 37, and I saw that I was on empty. The light was on, and I realized, oh my God, I have no idea how long the light's been on. There's not going to be another gas station until what's it called? Vallejo. Yeah, way over all those bridges and through the marsh and over the river and through the woods. And I'm way at the beginning of this whole thing, and I'm freaking out. And then I pictured myself running out of gas there in the middle of nowhere. And then I thought, well, okay, if that happened, what would be perfect about that situation? So if I'm running out of gas in the middle of nowhere, and let's say my cell phone doesn't work, so I can't call, let's say it's out of either I don't have my cell phone with me, or I didn't pay my bill, or it's out of range, and I can't, let's just say it's out of range for now, and I can't call for help right that minute. Well, what's perfect is, I was rushing home. This wasn't true yesterday, but I was rushing home, and let's say I wasn't looking forward to what was being served for dinner. And so I really didn't want to have to eat that meal. And it's perfect that I have AAA, even though my phone isn't working. And it's perfect that my legs work. And I haven't had a walk today, so I'm going to walk to the top of that hill and see if there's reception, and now I've had a walk. And now at the top of the hill, I get reception. And I call AAA, and they're not coming for an hour, and that's perfect because I haven't meditated. I haven't had any quiet or alone time that day, so I get to sit in this beautiful rural area, and I get to meditate. All of those things are perfection out of what could be a nightmare, where I would have to go and put back all this stuff on me. By the time I got home, who would want to feed me dinner? So, fortunately, I got to Vallejo. I got to a very dodgy little shell and got my car filled up. And I was very happy for the dodgy little shell and blessed it. So ultimately, cultivating and chasing perfectionism brings us into that mystical marriage with the divine. It brings us into that union. And I'll leave you with a final quote. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, who wrote The Little Prince, said, "Perfection is achieved not when there is nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away." Thank you. Let's take this message into prayer and bless the prayer request box, which will be available, basket, which will be available on the back. If you have any prayers to add to it, please put them in. Just knowing that all there is love. There's no way to be outside the power of love. There's no way to be separate from it. There's no way to be anything other than in it. It is showing up as me today. It is showing up as each and every person in this room today. Love is here as love, wanting to know more about love through love. Love puts food on the table, gas in the tank, clothes on the back, a roof over the head, creativity in the soul, and most of all, love in the heart. Each and every one of us is deeply loved. Each and every one of us is whole, perfect, and complete, exactly as we are right now. This service is perfect. And I am so grateful for our time together and for this love and this perfection that we are. And I let go. And so it is.
So it is.
And I will have for you back at the back where this is a bracelet to remind you of this job. Your only job is to be loved. So please take one when you're back.